I'd like to call to order the Municipal Planning Commission of Fairview meeting starting at 7:03, February 11th, 2014. First item on the agenda is the prayer and pledge. I'm going to ask Mr. Will Owen if he'll say the prayer for us.
Heavenly Father, thank you for your many blessings. We thank you for the opportunity to protect planning commission members tonight and give them wisdom in their
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If everybody would turn their mics on. Okay, the second item of business is the approval of the agenda, and we have 3 additions. 8.10 is Gibbons Cut Ordinance. 8.11 is discussion of the Redman family property. 8.12 is the appointment of a planning commission member to the Fairview Park Commission. And 1 deletion, 8.4, which is was the discussion or take action on a variance for Walmart. But that will be deleted. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, with a first and a second, approval of the agenda has passed. Number 3 is citizens' comments.
Forgot to answer. Everybody agrees.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay. No.
Okay, number 2 passes. Citizens' comments? There's 1 citizen's comment, Mr. John Stark.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm John Stark. I own property out on 96, and I'm here to speak in regards to the property that is in question is up for zoning commercial, and it's adjacent to mine. This parcel is is behind the present contractor's property, which is about 4 acres, right on 96. The rest of the property that is in question lies behind that. It only has about 330-some feet across the back, but it extends back up into the area over 1,000 feet. The back portion is 900-some feet. So it's sort of like a balloon going up there. And all 3 sides, this is residential. And I'm speaking here tonight to emphasize that I really think it ought to stay residential, which is what it is presently zoned. I understand I was concerned very much originally on the possibility of having a junkyard placed in there. And I found out tonight that over the several years here, that category has been removed out of the potential on commercial, commercial property. But there are still some others in there that would be detrimental to the area. And I have, on the right side as you face this here, there are 3 houses there. In the back is about 115-acre, which is a beautiful home back there with a nice lake. And that land extends all the way down to, on the left side, to 96, and there's another 2 houses back in there. And even on this property, there's a house with an adjoining piece. So it's primarily residential. And I request that you consider that, keeping that residential. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stark. Item number 4 on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the January 14th, 2004 regular meeting.
Move to approve.
Yes?
On item 11, we're under adjournment. Toddy seconded, and that, I don't know who seconded that. Did they find out? Okay,
I got your email.
okay. That's the only
Okay.
correction I have.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, number 5, recommendations, we have none. Number 6, bonds. 6.1, Western Woods Village Performance Bond to cover the road, sidewalks, and storm drainage, $155,300. Planning Commission set the bond on February 12, 2008. The bond was reduced to $106,000 at the February 10, 2009. Bond expires March 14, 2014.
Due to some previous knowledge of this subdivision, I'd like to recuse myself from any vote on this.
The developer has been notified by certified letter, and he did receive that letter. We will actually have one more planning commission meeting prior to the expiration of the bond, but it's real close to, the expiration date is real close to that meeting, so we'd ask that you go ahead and put in place the means to call the bond if it's not renewed.
Move to call the bond March 14th, not produced.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, item number 7, old business, there is none. Item number 8 is new business. 8.1, preliminary site plan for Verizon Wireless to build a wireless telecommunication tower located at 7215 Chester Road, map 52, parcel 136.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion for approval and a second. Is there any discussion?
Is there anyone here representing them?
Maybe.
Mr. Larry, for the record, Mr. Larry Rabin is present to represent Verizon.
If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer. It's a 195-foot monopole over the tower. On top of that is a 4-foot lightning rod, so it does not go any higher than 199. The reason for that one is it does not require to be bid or anything like that. It's not a protected. Y'all have been given, I think, plans for the site plan for the site and reviewed by the city planning. Again, if there's any questions, then we glad to answer. Ken?
I believe Ken Broxton's here also tonight.
I have a question.
Okay.
Who's going to maintain the access road?
That would be Verizon for any damage or just normal maintenance. It would be Verizon Wireless.
Okay,
If the Verizon should sell the tower to, say, American Tower, Crown Castle, something like that, then the tower owner would be responsible for maintaining the roads.
okay.
Will they have is there gonna be a gate down here at the entrance?
Yes, it's normally a gate, and it should be kept locked all the time, they lock them.
Okay.
Anything else?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. 8.2, final site plan for Verizon Wireless to build a wireless telecommunications tower located at 7215 Chester Road, map 42, parcel 136.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have an approval and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. 8.3, site plan revisions for Taco Bell to build a 2,084 square foot building located at 2377 Fairview Boulevard, map 47, parcel 7.00, 0.88 acres, CVHC 5 LLC owner. Is there anyone here to represent Taco Bell? If there's no one here to represent Taco Bell, then,
Second.
okay, we have a deferral in a second. All in favor? All opposed? 8.4 was deleted. 8.5,
Mr. Chairman, were they properly notified and everything? They got the notice, okay.
8.5, site plan revisions for Tiger Imports to build a 3,500 square foot building located at 7107 Jupiter Road, map 18, parcel 47.16, 1.47 acres, IG zoning, Tiger Imports LLC owner. Is there anyone present to represent? Please come forward.
You want me to read that?
Please.
Engineering. I'll read the engineering comments from our city engineer before we get started. And engineer's comments are, from an engineering perspective, the proposed revisions have no significant effect on the site. That's all.
I need a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion for approval and a second. Any discussion?
Question. What actually were the revisions?
There's three, I'm sorry.
Okay. The primary revision was that they added 3 new parking spaces. They already had the appropriate number of parking spaces with the previous approved site, but for whatever reason, the owner decided they needed 3 additional parking spaces. One of those 3 is a handicap spot, and then there was also a little portion of sidewalk added, I suspect, for emergency ingress and egress out of a side or back door on the, help me with my orientation here, what side of the building is that?
As you're facing the street, it'd be on the right-hand side.
On the right-hand side of the building. So those were the 2 major, and the applicant here may decide or may ask to further clarify any additional things, but I believe that was the primary change.
There was also a widening of the driveway too.
Correct, that's
It
correct.
was probably 9 or 10 feet, just to allow for easier tractor trailer movement in and out of the site.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 8.5 passes. 8.6, reapproval of expired final plat for Cowles Creek Subdivision Phase 2, Section 1, map 47, parcel 32, 29.88 acres, R20 zoning, 20 lots, Marlon Cunningham owner. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
This item is on the agenda. It probably looks real familiar to you. It was on the agenda and approved in December. The reason this item and the next item also are back on the agenda is when we got to looking at the dates, I think you were informed that it expired at the end of December, when in fact it had already expired. So we're just bringing this back to you to make sure that all the dates and everything are done legally and it's done in the correct procedure. But it was approved for 1 year until December 31st, 2014.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. 8.7 is the reapproval of expired preliminary plat for Kyles Creek Subdivision Phase 2, Section 2, map 47, parcel 32, R20, zoning, 20 lots, Marlon Cunningham, owner.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion?
Just, on all these, it's just a matter of correcting the date, right? Still a year
Yes,
from
this
the
item
court
was, this particular item on the final plat was not on the December agenda, but it had expired, and they are ready to record the final plat. We just need approval for them to go ahead and record the plat.
We have an approval and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Yeah, thank you.
8.9, rezoning application for property located on Old Nashville Road, map 42, parcel 65.12, 1.03 acres, from RM12 to RS10, Timothy Mangrum, owner.
Madam Chairman, you skipped 8.8.
Sorry about that. Well, let's return to 8.8. 8.8 is the rezoning application for property located on Horn Tavern Road, map 22, parcel 133.00, 8.37 acres, from RS40 to RS20, Walt Toddy, owner.
Move to approve for discussion.
Second.
Discussion?
John, has all the proper notification been put up?
Yes, and again, this probably looks real familiar to you. This item, 8.8 and 8.9, Mr. Mangum's property also, after it had been approved, it came to our attention that proper notification was not given to the property owners that are adjacent to the properties that are being rezoned, and signs weren't placed on the property for the length of time that they needed to be out there. So these are just reapprovals. The signage has been on the lots. Mr. Toddy's case, we put them on there, and that somebody keeps taking them and throwing them away, but we have pictures where we have put them on there, and the property owners have been notified by certified mail.
So everything's proper and in order?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion for approval and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
But, Madam Chairperson, can I say one thing? Let me back up. I said they have been notified by certified mail. They will not be notified until the public hearing
That's fine.
for the rezoning of the property for the Board of Zoning
I
Commission.
understand. Thank you.
Okay, now back to 8.9. Rezoning application for property located on Old Nashville Road, map 42, parcel 65.12, 1.03 acres, from RM12 to RS10, Timothy Mangrum, owner.
I'd like to recuse myself from this item.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion for approval and a second. Any discussion?
John, it's the same situation.
Exact same thing. In fact, both properties were brought before the Planning Commission, Board of Commissioners on the same schedule and the same dates. The same problem and the same solution.
Okay, we have a motion first and second for approval. Any other discussion? Yes.
I just have a question to understand what RS10 zoning is. When I look into the zoning that's listed online, I don't see RS10, so if I could just get an explanation.
Mr. Hall?
The RS10 is in the cluster housing, and that's where that particular zoning is at. And we only have, I think, one other cluster housing project in Fairview right now, so that's probably one reason you're not familiar with it, but it is. I was on the board when we passed it in cluster housing, and 10,000 square foot lots is one of those
available in cluster housing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion, a first and a second for approval. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. 8.10 is one of our additions. It's the Givens Cut ordinance.
Madam Chairman, if I may, I'd be glad to explain why I asked this be put on here.
Okay.
And before the vote is taken, I'd ask that someone read the caption of the ordinance into the record. But the reason I asked for this is there's been a annexation issue that's been going on for several months. Lawsuit's been filed contesting that annexation. We looked, there were several, 3, 4 principal issues when it started, by agreements and some legal reasons for it. It's been reduced to one issue. The one issue remaining is Givens Cut Road. The reason that I asked the Board of Commissioners passed this on first reading last Thursday night. State statute requires that between the first and second reading, or actually we could do it before the first reading, but that it come to this board for a recommendation. Excuse me. The recommendation that this board has goes on to the Board of Commissioners before second reading, and for the benefit of the new members, that recommendation is not binding on the Board of Commissioners. They can pass it with the recommendation of this board. They can pass it if the board recommends to disapprove it. I would ask the board if they would to approve this, and I would love to tell you the reason. I'll tell you the scope of the reason. I'm not trying to be secretive about this, but there's a hearing on the summary judgment motion related to this set for the 3rd of March at 9 a.m. in the Circuit Court in Franklin. And the reason I'm asking that this will not go to our Board of Commissioners for the second reading and the public hearing until the 6th of March, which is 3 days after the public hearing. The only reason that I'm asking that you approve this for the board for second reading is that it gives me a strategic tool that I would be able to use that I won't have if we don't have this pending. The reason that I would prefer not to, and I did not divulge this to the board, is a strategic reason, and at the appropriate time I'll be happy to explain that. I would not want that strategic reason to be out right now. I don't want to tell the adversary what I'm going to be doing. Thank you.
Vice Chairman Beata will read the ordinance.
All right. This instrument was prepared by Larry Cantrell, City Attorney. It is Bill number 2014-01, ordinance number 823. An ordinance to repeal, revise, and remove all reference to annexation of Givens Cut Road from Bill 2013-01, ordinance 796, and to annex only Overby Road per the original bill 2013-01, ordinance 796, and its existing county road right-of-way into the city of Fairview, Tennessee. All the proposed roadway for annexation lies within the city of Fairview, Tennessee's growth boundary. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of the city of Fairview, Tennessee did as a portion of Bill 2013-01, ordinance number 796, pass on second and final reading, February 21st, 2013, an attempt to annex Givens Cut Road and its right-of-way into the city limits of the city of Fairview, Tennessee. And
Mr. Beal, you don't need to read the whole ordinance.
Oh,
Just
okay,
the caption will
good.
be fine.
Thank you. I needed some water here.
You were doing so good, I didn't want to run to the end of that, but.
Thanks for saving me there.
Caption is fine.
I thought I'd look out and everybody'd be sleeping. Thank you. I would like to say also, I'd like to recuse myself from a vote since I'm involved in the property being annexed.
Okay.
I'd like to add one other thing, if I may. If you'll notice on this ordinance, it has, that I prepared this, and normally it doesn't have that on ordinances, but this ordinance by statute, if it's passed, would have to be recorded in the registrar's office. And the state statute requires that all instruments that are to be recorded in the registrar's office has to have the name and address of the party that prepared it.
I got a question. You said there was a summary judgment here from March the 3rd.
That's correct.
Wasn't there one a couple weeks back that's been postponed to March the 3rd?
Yes, sir. It's the same one. There was no hearing on that date.
We need a motion before we go to discussion.
Move to approve.
Second for discussion.
Okay, discussion?
Where does this put us at a legal standpoint with ongoing litigation on this particular issue?
Puts us in the best position we can be in. That's the reason I did it. See, the passing of an annexation ordinance or the repealing of an annexation ordinance is a purely legislative process and is not subject to the supervision of the court.
So simply, we're just gonna drop that section, Gibbons Cut Road from the annexation.
That would be one of the possibilities. I'm not saying that that's what we would do. That would be up to the board of commissioners. But yes, sir, to answer your question, that would be what this does, would be to strip that section of the road out of the original bill. And the reason, to get back to Mr. Manley's question, the reason that it was postponed that was me. That morning, if you remember, it was very icy, very cold. I got up to go to the court. I couldn't get in my vehicle. The doors were frozen. I was out for about an hour and a half. I would have still had plenty of time to get there, but by the time I got finished with that for the first time because of the cold, since I'd been in Korea, I had no voice. I could speak hardly above a whisper, and I called the clerk and the adversary counsel and said, you know, I cannot speak loud enough for the judge to hear me. I will need to reschedule this. And fortunately, the adversary agreed the next date that we could get it on the calendar. The docket for the court was March 3rd.
Well, I think my concern is with ongoing litigation in this particular item, is each member of this board being drug into this?
No, sir. First of all, members of boards have absolute immunity unless they're doing something that is a crime or a misfeasance type thing. This is not a misfeasance type of thing. This is a legislative process, and the court can hear the result of a legislative process, i.e. when they annex this, when the annexation was passed, the state statute allows for a quo warranto action to contest the reasonableness of the annexation. But whether you repeal an ordinance or pass an ordinance is a purely legislative process, and the courts doesn't touch that. In other words, the Board of Commissioners has an absolute right to drop the whole thing if they wanted to. They have an absolute right to drop any piece of it they want to. And that's not an action, that's a board acting as a board. And that's under the Tort Claims Liability Act, is absolute immunity.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
I'm sorry.
Nay.
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 Okay, 8.12, I'm sorry, 8.11, the discussion of the Redman family property.
How are you going to proceed with that
Just
discussion?
discussion. Do we have anyone here to represent the Redman family? If there's no one here,
Oh, okay. I want to speak.
okay.
Finish what you were saying, I'm sorry.
If there's no one here to represent the Redman family, this item will have to be deferred.
Who added it? Do we know, who added that?
The Board of Commissioners.
Even for discussion?
For what reason was it added? I mean, why they want it sent back here
Bring it back for more discussion.
for more discussion?
Can it be discussed without?
If it's deferred
Can't discuss it
No.
without the member of the,
with a member of the Redman family
without-
present.
McRevin's been here to due process.
So do I still take a motion since it was deferred? Okay.
Well,
Yes.
we're gonna be in a situation with this, I know why it was sent back. John, this piece of property we were talking about earlier that you spoke at the podium about. Somebody help me with that. It is.
Yes, sir, it is.
For us to defer it, it was brought just for discussion, further discussion on it, and it's just complicated because it just keeps putting it off and putting it off, because if the party that's owns the property never shows up, then it's gonna be mute from now on. They've already went through the process and been approved. They're not required to be here, I don't believe. So we need to figure out what we're gonna do about this. Larry?
Were they notified to be here?
No, sir.
Then you got to defer it, lack of due process, and that will bring all the board members in.
Thank you. Move to defer.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for deferral. All in favor?
We got discussion?
Sorry.
You don't have
I
any?
thought that we,
Only if we
I'm
went
sorry, I thought
forward with it.
I thought we couldn't discuss anything if it's deferred.
Right.
Okay. All right. Motion's deferred. 8.12, the appointment of a planning commission member to the Fairview Park Commission. Mr. Ron Rowe has
Volunteered.
volunteered.
Be careful.
He has shown interest in this. Is anyone else interested in being on the Park Commission? So do we need to vote on this?
Yes, if he volunteers, you
Okay.
need to accept him.
Okay, so
Yeah,
are we
that's
all in
good.
favor? I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
This is a recommendation to full board, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So you just
Okay.
need to vote on.
All in
on-
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, you're on the
Thank you.
Park Commission. Next item on the agenda is item 9. 9.1 is reports for discussion and information from the Planning, Zoning, Codes Department. Mr. Bledsoe?
We have nothing.
9.2, City Engineer, Mr. Owen.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have three items. One is, the staff wanted to make the planning commission aware that there was a partition plat that was submitted to the planning department for approval. Your current subregs allow for a partition plat to be administratively reviewed and approved and signed off on by the secretary on behalf of the planning commission. This particular partition plat was located on Old Nashville Road, and it involved an existing parcel of a little over 2 acres that was divided into 2 parcels of a little over 1 acre each. And the owners were David Hudgens and Susan Hudgens. And the addresses are 7309 and 7311 Old Nashville Road. So we just wanted to make you aware of that the planning department staff had received that and have moved that forward under the provisions of approving under a partition plat. Second item, one thing that I believe you've been accustomed to in the past is when site plans are submitted, you've generally gone through, in essence, 4 approval procedures. One for a conceptual site plan, one for a preliminary site plan, one for a final site plan, and one for the development review guidelines approval. As outlined in your current zoning ordinance requiring site plan submittals, none of those 4 are specifically defined in your zoning ordinance. My understanding of the history of that procedure is, as a courtesy to the developers, again, we're talking about commercial and industrial sites, as a courtesy to developers, the city had provided an avenue to proceed with some conceptual and preliminary approvals so that they could get some feedback from the planning commission on what changes may need to be seen on the site based on what they've submitted as they've come through conceptual and preliminary approvals. And this provides for an opportunity for the developer to not spend a tremendous amount of capital on the very front end to have full-blown engineering and architectural plans done with the hope of having those plans approved. So one thing that I want you to be aware of is that in the future, as we move forward, we will continue to provide that opportunity to applicants if they so choose. But if they do choose to provide full-blown construction and site plan documents, that the staff will move forward with final site plan approval and design review guidelines approval, and basically move past the concept and preliminary site plan approval. Staff feels that this will help to, I guess, speed up some of the approval processes for site plans while still obviously following the requirements in your zoning ordinance. So that was the second thing I had. And the third thing I had, if you recall last month, I mentioned to you that if you were so inclined to hear me speak for a couple of hours on your zoning ordinance and subregs, that would be an opportunity for you guys to obtain. You require 4 hours of training per year. If you wanted to break it up into 2 2-hour work sessions, we could certainly do that, or however, if you want to knock it all out, we could try that. But generally 1 to 2 hours has worked well in the past, and we could certainly move in that direction. Again, if you want to do that, I would ask that you guys get together amongst yourselves, or even tonight if you desire, and come up with 2 or 3 dates for me to take back and try to look at my schedule and see what might work for me. But that's the only 3 things I had. If you have any questions on those 3 things, I'd be glad to answer them.
9.3 is City Attorney, Mr. Cantrell.
I have nothing further at this time, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, item 10 is communication from the Planning Commission members. Mr. Mitchell?
I have nothing tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Rowe?
I just wanted to bring up that I had talked with Mr. Hall about a book that I've come across, and it's done by the American Planning Association. which I just recently joined as a member to get all the benefits of what's going on in the whole country, with planning and zoning. And this book is the Planning Commissioner's Guide. It's a 2013 edition, and it's great for new members and old members alike, explaining what the job of a plan commissioner is, how to hold the meetings. So Mr. Hall's been gracious enough to work with me on that to get everyone a copy on the board. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sutton?
Yeah, I'd like to, 2 or 3 things here. Would the scouts stand up, please? And I'm sure that y'all are not here for a badge or anything like that. You're just here to watch the planning commission. Is that right?
We enjoy it very much so.
Can you step up to the podium just a second? I'd like to recognize the scouts anytime that they participate in any of the programs and things that we have, as far as the leadership goes in the future. So could you introduce them, if you don't mind?
My name is Ray Flake. I am the Scoutmaster of Troop 515, and I'll let each one individually, if you don't mind. They're
That'd be great.
each working on a different merit badge, but each are from Fairview and are very interested. And pretty sad to not hear the Taco Bell was not approved tonight, but we'll move forward from that. So,
Well, let's just be right about, it's not that we didn't approve it. There's no one here to represent, so it just had to be deferred. Don't start that's not approved, because, oh me.
the Boy Scouts of America would have represented them, but they did not call us.
Okay, but that, I just wanted to make that clear, that it's just deferred. It's, yeah.
Well, I'm here working on the Communications Merit Badge, hoping to go up in the ranks, aiming for my Eagle Scout.
Thank you.
I'm James Grayson Luke's brother, and I'm also working on my citizenship in the community and communication merit badge.
I'm Josh Flake. Sorry I'm not in uniform. I just got back from practice, but I'm actually Ray Flake's son, and I'm here working on my communications merit badge, and it's also interesting to get to see how the legal process works, and it's really good.
I'm Spencer Flake, and I'm working on my citizenship in the community, and I'm his younger brother, so.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming out. Larry, maybe you can help me on this. If I'm not mistaken, you have to apply and send your requirements into the Ethics Committee for the state of Tennessee if you sit on this board. Is that correct? Has everyone done that so far? You can do it online. It's not a big long deal to do, but it is required that we do that.
I have not.
So, just a reminder for that. Third and last, I've got a habit of people that are running for office. If you can, Dina, if you can stand up, please. Dina Hood is running for, is it Division I General Session for Williamson County Judgeship. Ms. Andre was out here last week. We introduced her. So, Denise, do you have anything you want to say real quick?
I will just say thank you. It's been very interesting listening to all that's happening in the parliamentary rules. My ears perked up when I heard the summary judgment motion, and so I'm very happy to be here. I love this community. You really are just this hidden gem of Williamson County and the Bowie National Park. I grew up in Williamson County and did not know that it even existed until I started this campaign and getting out. And boy, that is just fabulous. I love coming out here. So I just want to tell you, it's a great place. Y'all are doing a wonderful job.
Ms. Hood, she's an attorney.
Oh, well, yes, I guess I should say that too.
Being a judge, yeah. You've been practicing how long?
I've been practicing, well, I'm actually going on 18 years now. And I started my own business in 2000. I just opened a second office out at West Haven, and have just grew up in this, working for the county attorney's office in college and through law school. And then I worked 2 years with our county attorney before I opened my own practice.
Well, thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you.
What kind of law do you practice?
Well, now I do mainly just trial court work, and I do a lot of family law.
Great.
And the reason
Good to have
she's
you.
been around so long is because I think weren't you 24 when you graduated from law school?
I was 24 when I graduated. Everyone says that I look young, so I have to get out there that I'm, I have paid my dues. I'm up to 18 years this year of legal practice, but yes, I was young when I got my law license.
And I think she's going to be around for a few minutes to answer any questions for anybody.
I look forward to meeting all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Mangrum?
I have nothing.
Mr. Butler?
No comment tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Beata?
Nothing this evening.
Okay, I just want to thank everyone for coming out. It makes our meetings, special to me when we have a lot of people who are interested in what's going on. I'm really glad that the Boy Scouts are involved and like to come and see. And my brother became an Eagle Scout, so I watched him go through that whole process, and I know how, what you have to go through that. So it's really important. So anyway, like I always say, we've got so many wonderful things here in Fairview now, new businesses. Please just make sure before you leave our city to purchase something, to do business, just check and see if we have that here, because we want to support our city and help it to grow in a positive manner. Yes. I didn't hear what she said.
Permission to approach the pulpit, Your Honor. I'm Joy Gallagher from the Chamber of Commerce. I'm the marketing.
Please come forward.
Mr. Wayne Hall invited me tonight, so I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Joy Gallagher. I do work with Liberty Mutual, but I'm the marketing chairperson for the Chamber of Commerce. And last Friday morning, me and Mr. John Cherry met with Mr. Wayne Hall, and we'd like to synergize with the planning committee in regards to making the city of Fairview economically prosperous and, progressive. And the reason why I'm here is to know everybody and see how the chamber can help the city of Fairview meet its goals economically. And it's, I worked for the Senate of the Philippines for 5 years, so I know how, your process work. And I did work for the Senate Economic Planning Office, so doing this work is really close to my heart. So let me know how I can assist you all personally in my own capacity as the marketing chairperson. We are trying to reach out to every business here in Fairview to, promote and go hand in hand with the Chamber of Commerce. So what we're trying to do right now is to coordinate with Mr. Wayne Hall in regards to your, how will the Planning Commission would like to get assistance from the Chamber of Commerce. So if you have anything in mind, I have my contact information. I'd really want to help you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So do you have any questions for me tonight? Well, I'll give you my information, and the Chamber of Commerce is here to help each one of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Ms. Rowan?
In light of the reference to Taco Bell, just a matter of further clarification, they have all approvals necessary from previous submittals to move forward if they so desired. What was before you tonight was a submittal to revise something that was on their previously approved plan, and obviously they had no representation, so you had to choose to defer. So that's just, again, to further add clarification
Thank you for
to their
clarifying
status.
that, because we will get
That was the
a lot-
situation.
We will get a lot of calls about that, so
Correct.
thank you for
Correct.
clarifying that.
I do have one question regarding that, and this is not necessarily regarding Taco Bell, but is there a way when stuff is resubmitted that's already been approved, that when we get a site plan like we have for Taco Bell, that we can do some kind of overlay where we can see what was approved? Because some of us wasn't on the board and was approved before, so it makes it a little bit confusing, and leaves us a little bit in the dark.
I think that's a wonderful idea. At a minimum, even if it's not actually shown on a plan, I think a requirement for the applicant to submit a written narrative of what was revised or changed would certainly be very appropriate.
Certainly, you still got a Mylar machine you can put an overlay on, right?
I do, yes. If the city would
Oh, no,
like to
no,
pay
no,
for my time to
no, we do not
conduct
want to
those
do Mylar.
overlays,
That is
then,
very expensive.
yes.
I think there's a less expensive way to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I know somebody that does that, though.
Anyone else? Need a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.